Hello and welcome to the Indian Cultural Forum. We have the Marathi playwright and novelist Makarand Sathe with us. Thank you very much, Makarand, for sparing your time and agreeing to do this interview. My first question to you is about the event at Central University of Haryana where adaptation of Mahashweta Devi's Draupadi was not banned or attacked when it was performed by the university administration, but by the ABVP, the student wing of the BJP. As we know that university, instead of backing the teachers, actually took the side of the ABVP. So how do you think in the scenario that we are living in now, what problems do you face, or do you think theatre is facing right now?
Actually, this has been happening for a long time now, but right from Salman Rushdie. The first thing that any government does is to ban the books rather than supporting the authors or the performers. Now, obviously, in the last few years, because of government backing to right-wing organizations, this has started happening more and more often. Some specific groups have got more power because of that. They think that now it can be done. But this has always been in status psyche in India, that what you do first is banned. And we don't even realize that this tends towards fascism. This happens more in case of theatre because obviously it's a live medium. Also because at one go around 500 to 1,000 people is seeing it. So this is old. I mean, Plato banned plays in poetry. So right from that time it is happening. But this is happening so much more now because a few fascist tendencies themselves now seem to be having government support, or at least they think that the government will support us, the state will support us, all the machinery. And that is of course true. In Maharashtra now, it is virtually impossible not to talk only about a religion or to talk about a religion. It is impossible to talk about any icon. I mean, I can't write about Ram, I can't write about Krishna, but neither I can write about Ambedkar or Phule. I mean, I can't do any critical writing. So a playwright like me cannot dare to write about Shivaji, whom I immensely respect. But if I want to have a critical look at a personality, at a historical personality who lived nearly 350 years back, so obviously, due to the time gap, I will have a critical look at the systems, knowledge systems or faith systems of those times. It is just not possible now. And this is happening throughout India, and this is increasing to such a pitch and pace after the right-wing powers have come to the for that it is actually right, Murugan, we have to say that I am dead. A writer is dead now.
If we think of this problem which really comes from non-state actors with the backing of the state, in Maharashtra we know that even the state has the tools and the power to completely lawfully silence a play. The Dramatic Performances Act of 1876, which is actually a colonial act done to make sure that nationalist theatre could not be allowed, has been scraped in certain states, but as we know in Maharashtra, it still exists. What do you think, why do you think the law is still there in the first place? And B, how do playwrights write under such circumstances when they are aware that such a law exists?
Yeah, it is, as you said, it's a law from 1876, obviously a colonial law. It goes on to prove that any state, whether colonial or your own, is oppressive. And state like Maharashtra, in fact, because theatre is more alive there, theatre is more political there, will obviously want to have a tool to suppress any subversive element therein. There have been, I mean, that law doesn't exist in the form that it came in that time. There have been some alterations and some new elements coming in. But still, more powerful the theatre, more oppressive will the laws be. Because there you don't need any subversion at all. And as I said, theatre being, I write novels also, so I'm not putting theatre ahead of any other form of art or literature. But theatre being subversive in nature because it's live and it also depends on tensions. Unless there is conflict in theatre, or unless there is conflict, theatre doesn't work. Novel doesn't essentially need to have conflict at its core. It can have plots, subplots and all other things. Whereas theatre is very focused. It depends entirely on a central conflict. In that case, this kind of a subversive, it has a huge potential to become subversive. So the problem is huge. State censorship is, and it's not only this law, as you know, even from 1876, anything can go outside the censorship law, because how do you catch metaphors then? How do you catch mythological plays which became anti-colonial metaphors? So it will always be there will be some loopholes through which the playwrights can get out of that stringent law. Then there will be law and order situations, then there will be somebody's feelings being hurt. So state has many tools, and this law is becoming a huge problem in Maharashtra, because this law, to give one instance, because of this Dramatic Performance Act law as it exists even now, I am not allowed to take a name of any living or non-living person. Like I had written a play where it was, there were names of Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi or Bala Saheb Thackeray. Those names have to go. Then how do you write the political theatre? See, metaphors work, but many times metaphors can be interpreted in many ways. Metaphors do not hit at a particular target. And if I want to do that, if I want to be subversive, then it's just not possible. And how can you write political theatre without actually placing or locating the characters and the theme? So all the time we are forced into something that is universal and timeless. And universal and timeless is never politically strong. So this law has to go. There is no way that, so we have protested. The only thing that we can do now is some of us have entered the censor boards. And so what they can do, and what we normally try to do, is get temporary certificates of 5 shows at a time. That can be given by one single person on the censor board. You don't need the whole board to come together and pass it. So many of my, or a few of my plays have not been passed by the censor board. What has been done was that one temporary certificate for 5 shows at a time. The name of the play was Gola Yug. It was Gola and Yoga. It is actually the yoga of where everything has become a rigid ball kind of a thing. It is related actually to the first question that you asked. It was a play about extra-constitutional censorship. Ultimately, in that play itself, audience comes in and stops the play. And that play itself was not passed by the censors. So we did only 5 shows at a time, taking the temporary certificates.
It's interesting that the audience that you choreograph will come and stop the play.
Stop the play itself, yeah.
I mean, of course you will choreograph that scene, but you don't have to choreograph it because it will happen anyway.
Yeah, it will happen.
Because you will not get a permit beyond those 5 shows.
Yes.
In this context, as you said that you cannot name Shivaji, we've seen that there has been there has not just been a threat of violence, there has been outright violence. With Govind Pansare, who wrote that landmark and actually gave that landmark speech, who was Shivaji, he being targeted. And now we find others targeting plays by Mahashweta Devi. So, in this particular context, how do you write your plays then? I mean, because the writing cannot stop. So, as a writer, how do you negotiate these material tensions of society?
You see, there is always a huge tension, because excellent writing, I mean, to talk in cliches, one can say both the things, that excellent writing can be done when there is fear. Excellent writing can never be done when there is fear. But this threat is not very conducive to good quality writing. Then you have to find out ways to circumvent it. You have to find out ways to go beyond it. On a practical level, like having temporary certificates, or on creative or aesthetic levels themselves, like find metaphors or not take names but still convey your meaning. But you are still left many a times unsatisfied or dissatisfied, because then you can't exactly say what you want to say. In some place like Tepudegele, I've been able to do that. But still, even there's a problem that was I able to target a particular government? When I wrote it in 2007 or 2008, there was a spate of pharmacist suicide, and a particular government existed at that time who was supposed to be elected on pharmacist movements, cooperative movements, and was supportive of farmers. I couldn't name any leader, so what I targeted was the middle and upper middle classes. So that will always happen. One has to go on finding ways, or then turn to non-fiction works like novels or something like that. I mean not non-fiction works, non-performative works.
Non-performative work. Thank you very much, Makarand, for
My
talking to us.
pleasure.